ergonomic office chair. Listen, fellas, I've sat in my fair share of Gamer Thrones, and after long days of editing, I've learned a real office chair isn't a luxury, it's survival. The Doro C300 is one I actually find comfortable. The star is definitely the self-adaptive lumbar. Sihu's BM body movement tracking follows your lower back in real time. No knocks, no guesswork, so the support stays with you. Flexible triangular backrest shifts as you move to keep your spine aligned. And when it's time to lean back, you get 110, 120, or 130 degrees of recline. A weight sensing mechanism sets the tension automatically, so it feels backwards instead of spring-loaded. And arms, we're going 4D, whatever that means. Up, down, forward, back, pivot, and they sync with the backrest. When you recline so your elbows don't drop out of support. Up top, the ultra-wide 3D headrest adjusts for height, depth, and rotation, and locks in place. The waterfall seat and breathable mesh help reduce thigh pressure and heat on long sessions. And yes, it's tested to BIFMA and TUV standards. So if you want a chair that adapts nicely to all your movements, check out the Sihu Doro C300 in the description below and use code YT6OFF for an additional 6% discount. Okay, so look, yes, I get it, Intel definitely still has some great value options out there, and there's certainly great CPUs coming out from Intel still to this day, but let's face it, the 9950X3D and the 9800X3D, well, those CPUs, fellas, they are just, well, they're really, I'd say, the fastest CPUs that money can buy today, and it's no wonder why people are flocking to Amazon and other retailers to pick these CPUs up. But what if I told you this is not all they have to offer? Well, potentially this year, but at least by early next year. Well, yeah, it looks like the 9950X3D, as fast as it already is, well, it might be getting replaced by the 9950X3D 2. Yes, of course, what great naming, they're just slapping a 2 on the end, but what is this, how fast is it going to be, and what are the specs going to look like? Well, let's jump into it. Now, this information I actually first found posted over on videocards.com, and it looks like it originates from the Twitter leaker Chili Dog. Now, take this with a grain of salt, of course, and I even did see some people disputing this, so we'll have to wait and see whether or not this happens, but we won't have to wait long, because it sounds like they're planning on potentially releasing it soon. But according to this leaker, it looks like the 9950X3D is going to be coming with increased power and increased cache. And then we also have the 9850X3D, which is going to be a clock speed bump for the 9800X3D. But let's jump into the chart so that I can fully break this down and we can figure out what to expect out of these CPUs. So let's start with the 9850X3D. So, like I mentioned, yes, it's basically a 9800X3D, which is currently the best gaming CPU that you can buy, in my opinion. And it's going to have the same 8 cores and 16 threads, but the clock speeds are going to be jumping from 5.2 to 5.6 gigahertz, and this means that yes, there will be a gaming performance increase due to that increased clock speed. Now, in terms of the cache, it's going to be the same. Pretty much everything else is going to be the same. So this one, not super exciting, but hey, I'll take it. But now let's talk about the 9950X3D 2. This is the CPU that I have been waiting for. Honest to God, if this had released already, I definitely would have purchased it, and I'm already considering purchasing this CPU when and if it comes out. Now, this CPU is going to be very similar to the 9950X3D, except for you might be scratching your head because despite the same core count, well, it's showing a 100 megahertz reduction from 5.7 to 5.6 gigahertz. And yeah, that sounds pretty weird, but there's actually a good reason for it. Well, one of the core clusters on the 9950X3D is actually not a 3D cluster, so it doesn't have the extra cache. Now, in most scenarios, this doesn't really matter, but there are times where, unfortunately, a game gets put or another application gets put onto the cores that do not have the extra cache. They want the extra cache, and it leads to a pretty significant reduction in the performance. Now, Andy's been working on this on the driver side to make sure this happens less and less, and it shouldn't really be happening too often at all, but it still can. And look, in those scenarios, this new CPU might not just be 10% faster, it might be 30% faster in those select scenarios. And this also means the total amount of cache, well, it's going to be going up from the 64 plus 64, which is 128 megabytes of cache. Now 64 plus 128 or 192 megabytes of cache. That's a massive increase in cache over the original. And yes, this will also lead to, in some select scenarios, some pretty significant performance gains. But back to that clock speed, why is this a reduction? Well, because that older core cluster that didn't have 3D cache in the 9950X3D didn't have it, well, it meant that they could actually boost those clocks a little bit higher. However, it looks like this new CPU, since both of the core clusters are going to have 3D cache, well, you can't quite reach that same clock speed on the cores that have the cache. It requires more power, and extra power and voltage can become a problem when you're sandwiching cores and cache together at a certain point. So what I'm telling you is, fellas, this is actually not really a regression. I mean, sure, it is a regression of clock speed, but when you're actually gaming, your clock speed's probably going to go from 5 or 5.2 on the older one, which is 5.3 to now 5.6 gigahertz. So don't think of this as a clock speed reduction. Think of this as a clock speed gain, because actually the cores with cache will be running faster. 5.6 gigahertz on cores with cache, that's really good and very, very impressive stuff. However, now let's talk about the performance and the release date. So these CPUs, well, I do suspect the 9850X3D, because it is going to have higher clock speeds, could be around 10% faster, maybe a little bit less, but somewhere close to that. It's just higher clock speeds, that's it. All right, but what about the 9950X3D2? Well, this thing has higher clock speeds and more cache, so, you know, look, once again, I would expect at least 10% more performance, and actually we'll go ahead and jump into a little bit more of a deeper dive in just a second here, but let's talk about the release dates first. So I am hearing that potentially CES of 2026, which is actually coming up real fast. I mean, that's going to be coming right around the corner here, guys, is potentially where these things will be shown off. Now, will they actually be shown off there? Well, there's been a lot of rumors about this, so I would err on the side of probably yes, but we still don't know for sure, so keep that in mind. But now let's jump back in that performance. If you were to buy this thing, I mean, how much faster would it really be than the 9950X3D in a game? Well, looking at a 12-game average on an RTX 4090 at 1080p, it looks like the 9950X3D is getting 216 frames per second on average and a 158.1% low. However, I actually believe if we throw in the 9950X3D2, and keep in mind, this stuff that I'm throwing in here is based off of mathematical calculations and some speculation. Of course, this is not coming from TechSpot themselves, so don't yell at them if this turns out to be wrong. You yell at me. But I would suspect that you should actually see this jump from 216 to 238 frames per second on average, and I actually think you'll see more than a 10% increase on the 1% lows due to the extra cache as well as the extra bandwidth between the dual chiplet CPU finally being realized. So I think you could potentially see as high as 184 frames per second on the 9950X3D2, or roughly a 15% increase on the 1% lows. And what this means is you can finally have your no-compromise CPU. It'll be the best for gaming, the best for content creation, the best for everything. So if you've been waiting to buy a CPU, it might be worth waiting to buy this one as well. But maybe it'd actually be worth waiting even longer for Zen 6. And of course, I'll keep you guys updated on that as well. And of course, also make sure you get subscribed, because I will be heading to CES once again this year. I'll be sure to let you know everything that I can about these CPUs. But hey, that's just what I think. Do you think that the 9950X3D2 will exist, or do you think that it's going to end up not being true? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. And of course, I'll see you in the next video. If you made it to the end of the video, be sure to drop a like. Every time you do so, AMD and NVIDIA release new GPUs. Also, if you want to see more, check out one of these related videos. You won't be disappointed.
Watch
8 gigabyte cards are absolutely dead. With the last generation, AMD and NVIDIA both were told by gamers that 8 gigabytes simply wasn't enough. And now with the RTX 5060 Ti and the RX 9060 XT sales, we actually have concrete evidence that gamers are overwhelmingly choosing the 16 gigabyte models, and 8 gigabyte cards are just being left on the shelves. Now, to give you guys some idea, let's take a look at my factory.de here. And this, for those unfamiliar, is a German retailer. And what's really nice about this website is that you get to see the sales figures of the various different SKUs. I'm pretty sure AMD and NVIDIA may not like this. And, well, let's just do Control F. 8 gigabyte. shadow typo, but still, you guys get the idea. The sales numbers are much smaller, and it's not much better, by the way, for Nvidia. I mean, let's have a look here. Look at the sales figures of the RTX 5060 Ti 16GB, and then compare those to the sales numbers that we're seeing for the 8GB model. Now, in a moment, we're going to be looking at Nvidia's own internal response to all of this, because I find it quite interesting. But also, we have some additional sales numbers, because this is only one retailer. So let's just take a quick look at another retailer, because after all, this is just one retailer. We can actually see here that it's pretty much the same story. There are some interesting options that UK buyers are choosing. For example, the RTX 3050 here. But if we scroll down until we see the 5060 Ti, we see here that it's a 16GB model, the next one down is a 16GB model, and so on and so on. And by the way, much the same thing in the US as well. Now, I want to bring your attention to a report, and this is actually popped up techpowerapple.com, our reporting here, and it's from the Board Channel Forum. And you can see that multiple sources are confirming that Nvidia are implementing supply control strategy for the newly released RTX 5060 Ti. And this is because overwhelmingly the 16GB GPUs are being much more popular with gamers, and this is being seen by AIB partners, so the likes of Asus, MSI, and so on and so on. And ultimately, you can just see this, of course, being reflected rather well as retailers. Again, cards are just not selling for the 8GB variants, but the 16GB cards are flying off the shelves, comparatively speaking. And why is this? Well, you guys know, 8GB is just not enough anymore. Even the 12GB RTX
Orb. 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 Orb.
AMZ.
Orb.
Game began.
Orb. 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 Orb.
Relax.
Orb. Orb.
Disappointed.
Orb. Orb.
Watch your step.
Orb.
In front. In front.
Orb.
Freedom. Stack.
Orb.
Line. Gather. Watch your step. Watch your step. Stack. Line. Gather. Watch your step. Watch your step.
Orb.
AMZ. Stack. Line. Gather. Watch your step.
Is that an ice penis? No,
No.
the TEDx that posted.
It's a BB-8.
Watch your step.
Oh, let's see. Could have been a penis.
Stack. Line. Gather. Watch your step.
Orb.
Watch your step. Spirit link. Step. Lay on hands. Light gather. Watch your step. Watch your step.
Orb. Orb. Orb.
Stack. Light gather. Watch your step. Freedom.
Orb. Orb. Orb.
Freedom.
Alright, I'm out of here. You guys have a good night.
Good night.
Orb.
Lay on hands. Frontal. 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 Freedom. Frontal. Frontal.
Orb. Orb.
Freedom. Roar.
Soon I shall have the power I require! You dare question me?
AOE
Straight
incoming.
annihilation!
Stay away from lions.
Power! Power! Power!
Bloodlust.
Orb.
Defensive. AOE incoming. Stay away from
Orb.
lions.
Orb. Orb.
Spark to water.
Orb.
What up?
Defensive.
Man, I love proccing fucking Ascendants as the pack dies. It's so fun. It's
Stay
such
away
a
from
cool game
lions.
loader.
Orb.
Didn't get a single proc in the first pack until we died. Basically, we died from the proc.
Have you tried not doing that?
Orb.
I know, right? Should work on it.
Defensive.
Man. Fucking Heinz, I did not. I was thinking it was gonna be at 8 a.m. Or 9 a.m.
Spark to water.
Yeah. 5 a.m. is fucking insane.
Freedom.
Are they losing? How many people are they missing?
I have no clue.
Huh?
I have no clue.